Hey guys, my name is Ranjan Pathak and I'm a designer from last 15 years and I have done design for almost everything from UX, graphic design, visual design and anything which needs design. In early age of design, I also struggled a lot with all the other designers do. There's always difficulty coming onto the ideas and executing it in a way that it would be approved faster. But I realized that I lacked a process, and any process I followed which was already there from other designers, that did not work for me. So what could I do? I worked and worked and worked, and one day I realized that I observed my own pattern, and I realized that there's certain pattern I have in my mind, but I have not just created them as steps and not written them down somewhere like an exact process where the ideas come from and how do I actually go about it and how do I exactly execute them. So over the years with these number of experience, I came up with 5-step process of developing an idea and executing them with ease. And believe me, if you go with this strategy, go with this process, this could really help you understand design on a deeper level and execute any design ideas with lawlessness. I recently did this workshop with two amazing designers. They're really good designers, but they are going to learn this process and they are executing this process right now. So let's see how this process works. So we'll go ahead and we will see this process. So the first part of process is empathize. What does empathize mean? So let's say you have to work on a project and your manager, your boss, your client comes to you and they tell you that there is this project and there's this design you need to execute. So the very first thing you need is conversation, ideation and conversation. You need to understand why, the reason why they want to execute this design, execute this process. Understand their pain point, their perspective of making this decision to design and execute one beautiful design or one beautiful project. So you ask questions like, what is this project about? Where is the location of this project? Are you going to go for digital? Are you going to go for print? If you're going to go for print, what is the location where you going to present this? Is it going to be small print or is it going to be outdoor advertising? What kind of advertising is it going to be? And then you ask the target audience. Who are your target audience? Are they old age? Are they male, female? What is the age specific target audience do you have in mind? And what is the actual product? What are you trying to sell? So that is where you get all the information. You don't need an actual content before you start the project of what is going to be the tagline. That is where I saw a lot of designers struggle. Give me the content, and I also used to do that. Give me the content, but no, you need to understand who is going to read the design, who is going to observe the design and make a buying decision. And once I understood that, this was really life changing moment for me, that instead of focusing on what is going to be the content, how the design is going to look, I started understanding why, who, and who am I building this design for? Who is going to be my user? Who is going to be my target audience? And once I did that, this was amazing because I understood the pain point and the personal specific of that specific project. And once I did the empathize step, I went on to doing the next stage, which is defined. So imagine you got all the information you needed from client. What is next? You have to have your own perspective. You have to define everything by yourself. You need to research. You need to bring in the pain point you have in your mind to execute this design. You got the information, but information might not be 100% correct. And you need to evaluate the information. You need to bring everything together, design the target audience for you, design the location according to you, design, not design, but write down and define all of these perspective, age, gender, location, and the question why they are going about this design. Once you do that, your mind start to understand the amazing perspective that, okay, this is the need of the hour, this is the design you need to execute, and this is the information you need for this design. So after you have defined, you have documented, and you have put it somewhere, you have to write it down somewhere. You cannot just have it in your mind. You have to document it, you have to write it down somewhere. Then you go with ideate. These are some of the things I had ideated very long time back in 2011, and these were well executed projects with all these 5 steps I have had taken. So ideate, I think this is one of the most challenging step for all the designers all over the world. Ideate. What does ideate mean? Ideate means visualization. Visualization of the layout, visualization of the design. You got all the information, but how the design is going to look like, not in terms of the color, but how the layout is going to look like. Where are you going to represent it? Is it going to be, what kind of a location you're thinking in your mind to present this design? So I'll tell you a story, that has happened to me before. Visualization, a lot of people think that this is random. It can come out of any time, while you're sleeping, while you are in washroom. The idea can pop out at any time. Some people say that while showering, they get this idea. Some people say while they're in washroom they get the idea. Some people get this idea in the dream. I have had these ideas at random time as well. Once I was working on a project for a builder, and I was sitting in a bus. Through the window, I saw some clouds, and I got the idea of what if I could place the cloud besides the building, and then the design, the poster, could really look beautiful. So that can happen. But a lot of designers complain, and all the bosses complain as well. What if you take 10 days to get that idea, get that visualization across, and then it would be too late? But no, you don't need to do that. There's a step to get the visualization within the time frame you have. There's a process to do that. So I read one of the book called Deep Work. In this book, the writer explains that visualization process has a trick to it. You cannot put it random, but you need to put yourself in that specific space or place, or in that zone, that you get the visualization faster. So why don't you get visualization you know every time? So let's go through these few things we talked about in terms of visualization. Why do you get visualization while you're about to sleep, or while you are in dream, or while you're showering, or while you are in, let's say, washroom? Why that happens? That happens because you are in that specific zone. You have isolated your mind to just focus on that specific idea, or your mind has that acquired that information, and it is processing, it is visualizing that specific idea. It's random. It's not actually random, but you think it's random. and you certainly get that idea and you go ahead and you start executing it. So why not, instead of waiting for that time that your mind gets isolated and you get the idea, why not put yourself in that situation or that space, isolate yourself from distraction and get that idea in your mind faster. So in this book, the writer explains that people, physicists, scientists, and all of them, uh, these intelligence guys, what they do is they go on a walk. They go on a nature walk, and once they go into nature, the ideas start pouring in their mind, and they have first they have random ideas, but then they filter it out and they come to one idea and they start executing it. So you can do that too. You can go into nature. Sometimes some people can isolate their mind from distraction even in crowd. So why don't you go to a cafe shop and have that isolated mind, and you're not crowded in your mind at all, and you get that visualization right away. So that you can do. And once you have that visualization in your mind, the location, the place, and the sketch, the visualization, the image, the layout, everything is there, is stored. The next step is go and create a sketch, create random, it doesn't have to be a perfect sketch, but it can be a sketch which can correlate to your original idea which you have visualized. You don't have to wait for it. So the first thing, I have to talk about it. I see that a lot of designers, they get a project and they would directly jump into the software, the application, and they'll start, thinking and researching about it. Research does not always happen on computer or, on graphic softwares. You have to do the research within your mind. And when you're doing it in your mind, you don't need to do it on your computer. The visualization does not happen while working on computer. It happens when you're outside of it. So there is a saying, people say, think outside of the box. Imagine the box being the computer. You cannot think while, you're stranded by the computer or the machine or the software. So when you go outside of that zone, you start actually thinking about the idea. And once you get that idea, you need to, I call it prototype. Prototype is basically take a white paper, white board, or anything which is completely blank. There is no distraction at all. And take that visualization idea you have in your mind and draw it out. It doesn't have to be a perfect sketch. It can be very normal, like a childish sketch, which just correlate to your idea, correlate to your design, and it will represent that what you're thinking about. Once you have that, once you have the prototype, the sketch ready, what you can do is you can go ahead and test it out before jumping into the computer. You don't have to jump into the computer or the software right away. You have this, you discuss, you test it out with your friend, you test it out with your colleague, you test it out with the marketing team, you test it out with your manager, your bosses. You show the wireframe. Once the wireframe is kind of, correlate to their mind as well, it might, so the chances of rejection is very low at this point. They might like the idea because you have had it through a process. You may just not do one wireframe, but you might do, one or two, three more sketches, and you show it to them. They decide on one specific ideation, and that's it. You get the feedback, and then you start working on the actual idea. You know what happens? The chances of rejection after this process is close to 2% out of all those 100%. So 98% chance is of approval. Why? Because when you were creating the visualization, they already got the visualization in their mind that how the design is going to look like, how the idea is going to look like. And this will help them approve the design faster. Not just approve the design but to relate to it. Once they relate to it, it is going to look amazing, beautiful, and it will work out. Not just your manager, not just your design, not just your team members, but also the actual users would love it, because this would correlate and this would come out of a very good research. So this is the entire process of the entire 5 step process of how to come to an idea and make a beautiful design. Beautiful. It could be graphic design, it could be UX design, it could be any design, but if it comes out of a process, you will like the process, you will love the process, and at the end, you will have something you'd be proud of. So I hope you like these steps and you start creating new designs with a process, not random at all.